Our Boone and awesome. Do you guys also do domain registrations, or you let Bluehost do all
So automatic does
Yeah.
domain.
Do you see yourself as like a company first hosted, where you don't need something like Google or some other company to go in? Just people come to WP.
No, it's not a direct to end customer
No.
solution. Right now, it's only focused on helping our partners deliver better. If you want a direct solution, you can go to Pressable, which is 100% WP Cloud. WordPress.com is like half simple site and WP Cloud.
What is Pressable?
Pressable's a R&D type hosting company that we own. That it's 100% owned by Automatic, but it's run on WP Cloud. But it's not like driving itself to try and be like the next Bluehost or something like that. Like it's really focused on trying to provide better hosting, better experiences, and an opportunity for us to really work directly with our customers and talk to them and learn. Yeah, so it's very reliable, very affordable, great hosting, but it just doesn't have like a huge marketing advertising because it's more of our focus is an opportunity to innovate.
Yeah. Okay, your R&D space.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
You've been with WordPress a while. How long have you been with Automatic?
With Automatic, 10 years this month. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. I co-founded a company in January of 2014, and we sold it to Automatic in August.
Wow. And it's been consistent since then for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I remember you at the cPanel conference, and then when they said you were coming here, I'm like, I think I met him.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been years.
Yeah. Yeah, cPanel's gone through their own changes.
I wish I did a better job of like diary, like recording all of my conferences and all of the talks I've done.
It'd be interesting. Aren't you guys like? Isn't blogging like part of your daily work or not?
Yeah. But the problem that I have, I guess, is that like I don't feel comfortable just.
Zoom people so who you cannot
It's unmuted. Okay, perfect. We will turn it on.
No, I'm stuck in this weird realm where it's like I want to write meaningful content, but at the same time, I feel like it's I don't know. Like it's not. I don't have the time to write it, so I'm just not doing it as often as I should.
Yeah.
But what I really should be doing is just being more comfortable coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
More.
That's been. I mean, that's how I got into WordPress. Is I've been blogging for like 20 years. I love it. Like I mean, that's the.
I don't know if it's a teacher. It's felt like
Welcome
teaching
to
other people
the
as
10
well,
a.m.
and
Eastern
then
session.
doing it myself.
Oh, you want me to do it on the mic? Yeah. Okay, I didn't do it yesterday. I didn't want people to. Good morning. Everybody have coffee?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody good? All right, so hello, welcome to the 10 a.m. Eastern session in room one. Room the same. WPPO 2024. I'm your room host, Paul. We're honored to have an amazing panel of experts joining us to discuss should I say or should I go out? The question of outsourcing and hosting. If we have time at the end of the session, which I'm pretty sure we will, we'll have time for Q&A, so make sure you write down those questions so that you can ask them later. After the session, we do encourage you to submit your feedback, which helps both our presenters and our panelists, as well as interest you for those door prizes later today. Again, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Please make sure to go visit them across the hall or visit our sponsors page. And let's go ahead and get started with our amazing panelists. Oh, you need the microphone. I just turned it on. Hey, I'm not talking.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Meredith Huffman. I'm a senior sport specialist at Big Plain, and I'm joined with some people I'll give introductions. So I'm going to be the moderator for the panel today. And we have a little
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
on our phone. We're simultaneously streaming on Replay TV and the Zoom session for this one. So we're working through some feedback there. But as we get started, I wanted to ask you all some questions. If you can scan your QR code on the screen here, or go to the link at the bottom of the screen. We've got a couple of questions for you to kind of get a sense of what your work as hosting looks like on campus. On your higher level, you hosting and WordPress sites that you might be hosting, we're going to ask a couple of questions. And the first being, how many of you still host your WordPress sites on campus, on-prem? In-house, you have sysadmins managing everything on that side. I see a couple of hands up, and we'll look at those questions as they come in a little bit. There, so feel free to answer at your own pace in the poll, or I'll keep asking as we go.
It doesn't seem like your presentation should done.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect,
Right.
okay.
Any chance to put the QR code?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second to scan again.
People thought QR codes wouldn't be useful. It's amazing.
Awesome. So moving to the next part of the first question again, we've got how many of you all are going to host your WordPress site on campus? That's about 50-50 at the moment, actually. And then we've got question 2. Do you host your WordPress sites using system administrators off campus through third party like AWS, Google, DigitalOcean, Replay Hosting, etc. And that's about 70-30, no, at the moment that they're not hosting remotely. And then question 3, have you offloaded both hosting and server management to a third party? Again, like AWS, Google, DigitalOcean, OVH Cloud, to name a few. And we're at about 60-40 yes for those who have offloaded, which is interesting. And then finally, as the last question, are there any other combinations that we've missed? Any sort of like hosting in someone's basement in the group, or managing your own server hardware, any of that stuff. Awesome. So now that we've answered those questions, I'm going to hand it to the panelists and do a little bit of an introduction. We have some remote panelists as well, so let me share my screen, bring in those people. So Angie and Boone, let me give the microphone to you all first.
They're not there yet.
Yeah.
Slide.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
So you'll have to move the Zoom over to that. Or maybe it's this way. There we go.
Cool.
There we go. And then if they want to turn on, the thing is, I'm not sure where the sound's gonna come out of. Because it's input only, not output, so it might come out through my crappy laptop speakers.
Okay. Lee is saying that you cannot start video because the host has stopped.
It's okay. Yeah, now it's over here and you can't see, so I would bring it back. Sorry. I think we were having a remote speaker. There we go. Move that over. There. All right. So if we go. All right, they don't need this.
Maybe we can stop.
The left handle is unmute.
We get to have some like fun questions.
That should
for-
They should be able to start their video now.
Okay, you all should you should be able to start the video. Oh, there we go. Hello, you can all faces. And it is coming through my crappy laptop speakers. So maybe you hold up the mic to my crappy laptop speakers. Yeah, that might work. Oh, no, yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all, we didn't really think about that.
Yeah, the other room is actually better for streaming. People in, sorry.
Which is why we put all of our remote presenters in room 2.
Yeah, well, because the room is better set up for that. That's my fault. Come on, get to the green. Now you're big, but you're still not really well heard.
Just turn on. That is easier for you.
The captions on so that.
There we go. Now you can see everybody.
Yeah, closed captions. Overboard. No, the chat.
Right now, chat isn't turned on for everybody.
Oh, you defaulted to yesterday.
Default,
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, and then show captioning is actually down. If you want to turn on captioning, that'll make it easier for people. There we go. All right, and maybe get rid of. All right.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
can you all hear me now?
Thanks, Lee.
Is the microphone still moving?
Yeah, I just can't hear my output from the thing, but I think that's okay. My microphone's on, so.
Okay.
Boone and Angie, if you want to give your, introduce yourself, and we can, go forward from here. Can you hear us?
Anybody gonna talk?
I don't think they can hear us.
Okay, oh, there we go. That's my fault. User error. I'm sorry. Here we go. All right. Sorry about the technical difficulty there, but Angie and Boone, if you want to introduce yourselves and give a little back history on your experience with WordPress and your hosting on campus.
I guess I'll jump in. Hi, I'm Angie Wolf. I work at Trinity College up in Connecticut. We're a small liberal arts college. My organization is actually merged between IT and library, and I'm the director of operations for the merged organization. My work these days mostly involves vendor management and budgets, so I'm sort of the bean counter that assesses this kind of stuff regularly. I have very limited experience with WordPress, actually. We have used domains and comments a little bit, but that's about it. Mostly I'm coming at it from the usefulness of the platform for our folks on campus. And we're currently working with Rebank Hosting. They manage our external facing website.
My name is Will Gervis. I'm a WordPress developer and consultant. I originated at the City University of New York along with my coach grew up there. And I worked on a number of projects at CUNY, including the CUNY Academic Commons, which is a long-running WordPress multi-site that's hosted in-house at the CUNY Graduate Center. But I also am a consultant on, at any given time, 6 or 10 different projects at different universities. So I really have experience running large custom WordPress installations on all sorts of hardware hosting configurations. So I'm here to share some of that with you.
Great. And I am Jim Groom, and I have been working with WordPress multi-site in particular since like 2006. At University of Mary Washington, we had a long kind of standing WordPress multi-site that ran 10,000 people at the time.
Yeah, I didn't mention that on there.
It's not all the way on.
No, it's on now.
Now it's on.
And so, oh, there we go.
So reintroduce yourself to the Zoom people.
Yeah. So I'm Jim Groom. I've been working with WordPress since like 2005, 2006, to the University of New York with Boone, as he said, but then at the University of Mary Washington, we did an early, very big WordPress multi-site, and we have really thought about that as skunkworks. We started our WordPress multi-site on Bluehost for about $6 a month, I think it was, and that ran a whole university instance that grew, and then we had to figure out hosting. And we had that struggle with the IT. Do you host it internally or externally? Will they even recognize your WordPress site? Because at that point, it was very much beneath the radar. No one really knew what WordPress was. So there's a lot to get into there. I'll save that, but that's kind of my background. And now I work for Reclaim Hosting, started in 2013, coming from UMW. So Jesse, over to you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm Jesse Friedman. I've been working with WordPress since, 2004. I started as a freelance developer, worked for a variety of agencies. Then I ended up as a side gig teaching at universities in Rhode Island, Johnson Wales University and University of Rhode Island. I was an adjunct for like 8 years, teaching WordPress and digital marketing and a variety of other things. So higher education's a deep-seated part of my past. Around the time that ended, I co-founded a security company and sold it to Automatic. That's now 10 years ago this month. So I've been working in and out of WordPress. No, that's not true. I've been working in WordPress for 20 plus years, and at Automatic for 10, and now the last, say, 6 years, working very closely with hosting companies around the globe. And for like the last 18 months or so, leading the WP Cloud effort that we had, which is a homegrown, made WordPress managed, fully WordPress managed cloud platform built by Automatic. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm going to pass this back over to Boone for a question. What are some advantages for this CSD keeping that hosting in-house?
You know, like Jim described with his project, this was the CUNY Academic Commons really started as sort of a below the radar fantasy-driven project, and so it was about finding the pockets of opportunity, the pockets of collaboration to the university wherever you could. So we happened to have a sympathetic individual at IT at the time who was like, "Yeah, we can spin something up on," and it wasn't even $4 a month; it was $0 a month. So I mean, that was kind of the original reason. You know, there was no money attached to it. You know, but then as we started to grow as a project, I think we were at that. This was like 2007, 2008, and it was, you know, it was a little more unusual to be running something on Linux box, to be running something that was open source, and wasn't really deeply integrated into most IT departments at the time. And so we sort of poured its badge on that we were able to do this. You know, the IT, our buddies in IT were kind of like, it was like guerrilla warfare a little bit. You know, we were kind of becoming friends in the trenches. So there was some sort of pride in that. But as we grew as a project and it became less scrappy and more institutionalized, I think that we, as a leadership team, we saw it as sort of philosophically advantageous to host internally. In some respects, paying somebody else to do the work would have been the easy way out. It would have been expensive, but it would have been easier than having the conversations, developing the relationships and the expertise in-house that we ended up having to develop over a number of years. And we saw that sort of it paralleled some of the work that we were doing on the front end of the project. So, part of the pitch for this particular project was that it was a way to encourage a kind of public intellectualism, a kind of engagement with the city of New York and the more general public outside the university. And I think that we had a similar idea about this, about the infrastructure of the site. Can we build the software in such a way that we're engaging with the larger community? Can we host the website in such a way that we're deeply integrated into the larger computing community? So for us, it was partly ideological. And so I guess it's kind of mixed us. It was budget at first, and then it became sort of this ideological thing in the background to say we can still do this. We can forge the relationships internally. And another thing that I think a nice side effect of that was that it got buy-in from people at the university because they saw themselves as partners. IT saw themselves as being a part of this project, as opposed to having to be something that was sort of external and imposed upon them to be sort of middlemen, passing along help tickets, that kind of thing. So that those kind of relationships, those sort of partnerships, I think were really beneficial on all different sides of the project.
Absolutely, and I said CAC, but I meant PEAC in the comments, so I should have said that before the abbreviation. And then this question for Angie, and on the flip side of posting externally, why did Trinity decide to ask for split posting and assist that?
You're muted.
Jay, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, sorry. I'm gonna take you back in time just a little bit to the mid-2000s. We think it was somewhere around 2005, and we made the not so brilliant decision to move our public facing website to SharePoint using CMS. And I'm gonna take off your pity now because it was horrifically awful. Time trying to get the thing into submission so that we had anything even close to a user experience for people trying to use the website. At the time, we had just moved to a model where our marketing department was actually providing the content, and we were doing all of the programming in order to make it look good. So there was a bit of work that needed to be done between the two departments as well, and we couldn't always hit what they wanted because, again, SharePoint and CMS. At the same time, we started running WordPress for a couple internal purposes. We were running comments locally. So around 2016, we decided to evaluate what we were doing overall with managing these websites. We took a look at the effort that was going into it, and obviously, the true dollars out the door in order to support this stuff. Communications decided to also hire an in-house person to help managing posting content. We wanted to move to WordPress at that point. We knew that was a better choice for us ultimately. So we started looking, we did set things at house and basically decided this probably wasn't a great idea. So we started looking at external hosting companies. Because of the timing, there were several companies that were ready to go. They had proven track records and the expertise on staff. This put us in pretty great shape to actually determine, working with an outside company was a good idea. We also knew we were going to get back time for our really exceptionally good technical people. So we could pass off all the issues about patching, security, worrying about bandwidth, running the thing on campus, scaling up and down, denial of service attacks, like all of this stuff for us just went out the window once we decided to go with a hosting partner. We also worked with communications on this, and this was a good idea as well because they gave them a partner to work with for any type of support needs. So in terms of just dollars out the door, yes, it cost us a little more, but we got time back for some very talented people that we could now focus on the mission of the college. And frankly, we were happy with the decision because it made it easier for us. Our technical people were happy too. They didn't want to devote the time for one platform, basically, that they had to do in order to keep this up.
Absolutely, thank you. And then I'm going to pass it over to Jesse, and to talk a little bit more about the WordPress Cloud, WP Cloud. How does WordPress imagine itself in the hosting space, and what's the vision of WP Cloud?
On? Yeah, I think so. All right, so just for a little bit of clarity, how does WordPress see itself in the hosting space? Is that WordPress the .org community?
Either or,
Oh, okay.
yeah, however you
All
want
right.
to take it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the take that we make on WordPress is that obviously it's open source software. The distribution of WordPress and the proliferation of it has existed because of great hosting companies out there providing different solutions, dynamic solutions that are, I like to celebrate the diversity in hosting throughout geographic regions and different parts of the world because they're able to provide niche solutions in different things. I don't think that a single WordPress hosting company could have achieved what WordPress has done. So that's where I think WordPress sits nicely in that realm. Juxtaposition to that is like Squarespace and Wix, and we leave these single site offerings and they, universal tooling there. WP Cloud is a newer cloud platform that Automatic has created for our internal use. So we put together the minds and the people behind powering the highest traffic websites on VIP and huge multi-sites for WordPress.com and talking to agencies and managed hosting with Pressable. And we said, how do we build the next cloud platform? We didn't want to outsource anything to AWS or Google Cloud. We wanted to build it all in-house. So we started with bare metal boxes. We have 28 data centers around the globe, and we built everything up in-house for our own needs. And in being able to service these sites in a very performant way, we're offering like 100% uptime. We have multi-region data failover, so sites just don't go down. There's a variety of features that are in WP Cloud, and to true Automatic fashion, we said to ourselves, how do we start making this available to the rest of the world? Because we don't want to be the only one offering this. We want to be able to make it available to other hosting companies. And so we've been partnering with other hosting companies to provide this service, the same way that AWS is accessible through like WP Engine, for example, or something like that. But WP Cloud is the only one that is a WordPress first cloud platform, fully managed top to bottom. And now you can get it with a variety of hosting companies out there. Bluehost Cloud is actually running on WP Cloud. You can talk to them about how we're taking the platform we built and layering it on top with their experiences. So, really to sum it up, WordPress is going to win by making sure it's accessible to everybody. And that means different price points, different languages, different direction, all guided by hosting companies around the world.
Awesome, thank you. And Jim, I do want to ask you a question about the benefit of offloading your hosting.
No, I mean, one of the things back to some of the stuff that Angie and Boone were talking about, when we were doing WordPress at University of Mary Washington pretty early on, one of the things, as I said, is we couldn't get anybody from the university. Like they hadn't heard of the site. And by 2012, University of Mary Washington was hosting WordPress for their main.edu. So somewhere between 2006, 2007, and 2012, there was a major shift in the kind of, how would you say, authenticity or acceptability of WordPress as an actual solution as a CMS, right? And kind of many of us in this room maybe have lived through this or come after that, right? And so when we're hearing the talks here, it's like WordPress is official now. What you're dealing with is like, how do you get your editors or how do you get your designers to do this or that with WordPress? There's no question that you could use WordPress for your .edu. Whereas a lot of the questions early on was WordPress is just a blogging platform. How dare you call it a CMS? How dare you think about it as anything other than, kind of infantile? And so it's interesting to see the kind of development of that space. But one of the questions I have, and this is kind of maybe a little bit sacrosanct, given I'm running a hosting company, is should we be afraid a little bit of offloading too much of our expertise, right, as universities? That for me is one of the biggest questions that kind of I have is we're offloading, with the MOOCs, we're offloading how we deliver courses, with all of our kind of hosting, we're offloading all the expertise. An interesting kind of anecdote is in 2014, a year before I left Mary Washington, they built a whole brand new building, as universities will, right? And part of that building was a complete hosting area, where they had this idea that they were going to run their own servers and host their own data. And in fact, that stood empty because by 2014, 2015, people were not hosting on campus anymore. And I'm wondering, all of this works in cycles, right? And as we go more towards external hosting, and as they can charge us what they will that cycle come back? Will we start to revisit the idea of hosting coming back to campus? Or some of that expertise that universities have, kind of reclaiming it. So I'm interested in that. That's kind of my space. But I think if everything works in cycles, will we start to see a kind of revisiting of some of the pricing, a revisiting of what we thought was economical, because we can't really access our own data in some ways. Let's think about instruction, right? Instruction was valued at $4.3 billion, and it was bought by private equity firms. And what was the value of instruction? Where did the value live? Data. Student and faculty data, right? And let's think about the bigger questions that come into that and what we're doing in this kind of space and how kind of responsible we are when we offload this stuff. So I know I have Boone said ideological. I definitely come from an ideological perspective when it comes to universities and student empowerment and the kind of sacrosanct nature of data. So it's interesting for me to think about what that looks like in terms of that. And I'm sure there'll be questions regarding that, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a good segue. I do want to open up to the attendees of the presentation as well, so I'll stick around with the mic, or I'll walk around with the mic, you guys can answer that one, and then we can direct questions to there. So anybody have any questions?
To incentivize you, I have some nice little gifts for anybody who asks a question.
Yeah, I'll talk about over here.
Thanks. I'm curious if you, as faculty or staff at colleges, if you often work with students on hosting or on the sites or just giving them an introduction to WordPress management through like a work study or an internship or something like that. So how often do you work with students at your respective colleges to either use their knowledge or teach them new things?
I mean, you can probably answer this, Meredith, given some of the work you did with BKC.
Yeah, to give you a little bit of back history on my working experience, as a student, I was a tutor for video editing, on-running, all that good stuff through Mary Washington and the Digital Knowledge Center. Oh, yay. And I took that knowledge to help teach students who were fresh out of high school into their first year at Mary Washington, really required as a freshman seminar to use WordPress through domain of one's own. And that's honestly really where my base started with WordPress, and I quickly learned how to teach WordPress because I was also in that same mindset as a sophomore on that end, but continued on and then worked with Freeman hosting where we primarily work in WordPress there. So it's not as much day-to-day on my end anymore, just the nature of how I've moved up in Reclaim. But I would say we probably deal with it on a day-to-day basis as employees. And that comes to teaching how to add themes, plugins, update WordPress to 6.6.1, whatever the most recent version is right now. So yeah, that's just a little gist.
I mean, a question back to the audience. I don't know, Jesse, if you want to take the mic.
No, that's fine.
Question back to the audience is how many of you with your WordPress instances deal with students, right? It is about a student-centered approach to publishing, to framing their kind of identity or building a sense of who they are versus kind of, business for forward facing. Yeah, maybe we'll go back to them. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so like, I'm Kevin, I'm from Butler University. Yeah, I guess we kind of run the gamut. It's like we maintain our public facing flagship, and everything down to it's a 7,000 site, multi-site that anyone with a @butler.edu address can have access to. But I think specifically to your question, the number of student centered site, multi-site installs for like student portfolios, for 2 or 3 of our programs where they, over the course of like pretty much their entire college career, they're used for evaluation purposes, but they're also used to allow the students to kind of build a portfolio they're going to need when they go to apply for the master's programs. These are all programs that you pretty much are going for your master's if you're going out. So, yeah. And at least one instance, we would show up at one of the classes at the beginning of the semester to kind of walk them through how this thing even work. And like one of the things we've done is we've for one of the sites that's been around for over a decade, so they go to the back and they create a post, a custom post, site post, and do all of that for all of their stuff. But then our newer versions, we keep them locked out of the back, and they just use the front end interface, which once you do a little bit of exploration, it seems to work a lot.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna pass it over to Lee.
So I'm on the teaching and learning side, I'm on the UIS side, and so that's sort of where we have the line is that UIS does the official university website, so anything that wants the EDU and the official Georgetown template that they go through UIS, and so students, if they are working in that environment, it's usually as GAs or student assistants to like update websites and those kinds of things. So that's pretty locked down in terms of permission. On the teaching and learning side, we have a WordPress website and domains. So, the WordPress website is usually used, we call it course sites. And so very often is used as a teaching and learning tool for blogs or digital projects, those kinds of things. And sometimes portfolios, but a little less so now. Whereas domains is they can install WordPress, they can install just about any content management system and use it, or FTP and those kinds of things. And one of the challenges really has been now that WordPress has gone full site editor and blocks and all that, the learning curve is much steeper for the students. And if anybody can help me figure out how to get students to understand that the templates are not the actual pages, the templates, I really appreciate that because I have students working in templates that are like, why aren't my pages showing up? Because they built all of their pages. Anyways, so that's been a real challenge since WordPress has continued to update and getting more complex, is that for students in particular, the learning curve is much steeper, and we don't have a digital knowledge center, we don't have student aids on this, so it falls pretty much to me to help students get on board and trying to figure out this. Anyways, that's our experience.
I'm going to hop in real quick to answer your original question. When I spoke at Johnson & Wales, or taught at Johnson & Wales University for, it was close to 8 years, I was teaching specifically web design, and I moved to WordPress after I published my book on building WordPress, and that was part of the curriculum for a long time. It actually ended up influencing the rest of the university because what we were doing is they were building a website as a part of their core project, but then that website served as a way for them to express themselves and share the other things they were doing within the university. And then so what became apparent is that being able to have a voice online and being able to communicate through a website that you own that is built on open source software that you can take anywhere you want became incredibly important skill for students to understand. So then what ended up happening is that every student basically got their own website to just do whatever they want, share projects, express themselves, do anything. And through that, they developed this skill that over a period of years, they became quite proficient at, but they didn't have to actually take a class or be, worried about credits or any of those things. It was just something that they just became naturally attuned to over time. And then to answer the question in the back about how to get people to stop using templates as pages, one thing to remember is like you can always hook right into the admin and leave big notices that personalize messages to students to say, you don't want to be here, you want to be there. And then don't be afraid to just like upload a video with a link and say, this is exactly how you do it, because it's that in-moment prompt that helps them to actually be faster, that they'll appreciate that tip more than anything.
I have a data point. I actually am an adjunct in a master's program at University of Rhode Island. We
No kidding.
teach the world the web. I teach in library school, and one of the courses I teach is web development for librarians. And I apparently am a mean person because I make them learn HTML first. Just enough so that then they can install a map or a XAMPP on their machine, or use local or some environment, and then they have to install WordPress, and then they have to build a thing as part of their web development class. Because nobody working in a library or anywhere is going to have to learn HTML. They're going to have to learn a content management system, and WordPress is probably the content management system that they're going to have to learn to do their job. So,
That's great. I support that fully.
They'll have sympathy for the people like us who are working to support these systems.
Very good.
Thanks, Gary. Any other? I'll get you, we'll just right behind next.
Hey, thanks. So I was trying to see if I had an answer to offload or hosting or should we keep it on. And listening to the arguments presented here in this room, it's a fairly straightforward maybe choice for, like, at least from my perspective, which is it's non-technical perspective. But if we decided as a university to keep all of that stuff on, we would be constantly competing with other companies that are pushing the innovation forward in that space and have the bandwidth to continuously improve and compete with each other for better products to do things. And from my perspective, I mean, you just made this decision all, but at least from my personal perspective, the choice is very clear. Like if we want something that is competitive, or we want something that is forward-thinking, or we want the ability to pivot, switch between different things, there really isn't much of a choice there. I think that we need to partner with agencies that represent and out there, and sponsors, to make sure that we are at least competitive, when we can focus the university's resources on the things that matter most to the university, which is,
Yeah, you totally nailed it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all using WordPress, and we're not building our own custom CMSs in-house, right? Like, so we are borrowing the technology and the innovation of a different community. The same thing goes for our hosting companies as well. They're continually improving things and making things better, and fine-tuning things at a rate that you can't do in a silo. So it's definitely important to leverage that innovation.
I was just making sure that at Pantheon, we have similar questions internally, but like a layer down. Our chief technology officer was very early containerization of and early differentiator was we can containerize PHP, we can containerize the database, and we'll be much more efficient. A decade later, and billions and billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars poured into containers, we are not unique on containers anymore. We're not trying to be. So we're looking internally, how can we replace the pieces we built ourselves a decade ago or more? How can we buy official products from Google Cloud so that we don't have to think about our own special containers anymore because they're not special. You can buy the containers from Google Cloud, and our customers don't care, we'll be successful if our customers barely even notice when we switch around the pieces. And that abstraction, I think, holds well. The hierarchy needs presentation I did yesterday, that sort of locked in my mind when I was working with a large customer that was migrating their own internal distribution from one host over to Pantheon, and they could tell their customers, you don't have to worry about the fact that biology example.me was switching from this host over to Pantheon, because it's going to cut over, like your domain is the same, you log in the same, and it doesn't matter. At the same time, or a year before, Pantheon has moved from Rackspace to Google Cloud. You don't have to worry about it. It just works the same.
So I'm not sure if we have all the right folks in the room here, except maybe Jim, because this is maybe more of a comment for leadership of folks who run some of these hosting partners and companies, that as a person who's empowered to help my board make a decision about whether to move to the cloud. One of the biggest things that I would like to see is transparent pricing around multi-site. It's extremely difficult to compare vendors for different tiers of multi-site price hosting, because a lot of that is, call and talk to our sales folks. And I don't always have 10 hours to talk to sales folks. Sometimes I just need to be able to build a quick Excel sheet that weighs quick levels of options. Of course, it's going to call and talk to you before I buy. But it would be great to have a little bit more transparency, rather than thinking I'm a 1,000-site customer or 10,000-site customer. How do I get some
It's funny because one of the things with WordPress multi-site, and I know Jesse will present on this later today, is, whether it's 2,000 or 10,000, the way in which a lot of this infrastructure works right now, we found it's not that different.
That's why.
Yeah.
But they want to slice and dice, right?
Absolutely. And that's, to everybody's point here about innovation and about, obviously you want to offload all your dread, you want to offload all your concerns. That's true. But when you offload all that, you also offload a certain amount of power. And having people on campus who maybe understand some of these questions and who could say to you, hey, WordPress multi-site for 500 people, we shouldn't be paying $15,000 to do that. And I think that's maybe the expertise. We're kind of talking that fine line, that kind of still having people who understand, but maybe not having the servers still on campus. And it really is. It may be a bigger question, but I agree with you, right? Having run them for years, not on campus, but as part of campus and being an expert, you begin to see that once you offload a lot of that stuff, the pricing can get out of control. And I think for universities right now who are definitely, not having their greatest moment financially, that's a concern, right? Austerity is the word of the day. So it's important. I don't know. Before we have 1 minute. So Boone, Angie, I want to make sure if you have any last comments based on what you heard, you get a chance to speak.
Yeah, I'll jump first because I think that's sort of how you're saying it. I'm sensitive since that's Jim's point about offloading too much of your expertise. I like external hosting. I agree with points about innovation. And ultimately, I think the cost probably, it's actually cheaper to host externally anyway because you don't need the in-house expertise. But the thing I will say is that when you're shopping and you're making your Excel spreadsheets and you're making your sort of budget proposals to the higher ups, people who hold purse strings, is that this is not the kind of thing where we should be looking for commodities. You need to be looking more for the relationship that you have with the vendor, whether that be, people like McLean who are specifically educational technologists can talk to you about instructional design, or whether it be the kinds of account representatives who are going to understand your specific use cases, because it's the relationship that you're buying. A lot of these things about the cloud hosting are really commodities, and they're very simple both from place to place. And in fact, it's something the person at the outset, they're abstracted in such a way that you would never even know if the technology is different one place or the other. That's not what really matters. When you pay for these external vendors, you should be looking for those relationships, because that's going to help you kind of hold on to some of that power and some of that knowledge and some of that expertise through that relationship that you have with the technical team, with the support team, with the people who are going to get you set up and running at that external vendor. So I'm all for it, but don't just go down the list and pick the cheapest option. find the people who understand your mission and who are able to have meaningful conversations with you about the core requirements and the core values that you have as a project.
So I was basically gonna echo the same stuff. To me, what we were looking for was a partner. We weren't looking to just offload everything about the website, and I think we ended up with a partner. And the fact is, our resources, as far as people, time, and money, are very limited. So we need to focus our internal folks on the things that are most impactful for our organization. And frankly, that is not hosting a website for us. So, you know, we were looking for people to work with who did understand the use of this.
Awesome. Thank you both for those last remarks. I think we're out of time. Thank you. Yeah. Cool.
Cool, so that wraps up this session, so big thank you to all of our panelists for a wonderful session. Please make sure you use our 2024 City Slack channel if you have questions you want to follow up with, or didn't have the opportunity to ask. Make sure that you submit your feedback evaluation, you can give panelists some feedback as well as interview for those door prizes this afternoon. This session was recorded and will be available in our campus learning library in the near future. We'll now take a roughly 12-minute break and then be back in here with extended core, how to architect